Thank you for joining me. This is the Throne Room, and you're chilling with me, Elle. And today we're going to talk about the Red Woman and who is she. And also we'll talk about a little bit about what is her purpose for the Game of Thrones and is her religion actually real. And first, I want to talk about why does she make mistakes on who was the prince that was promised. Her visions are just like any modern day charlatan. Sometimes it's wrong, sometimes it's right. And she has one thing she did do, and it was sacrifice Shireen and also the birth. Not sure if it's connected, but Jon Snow's rebirth after he was reborn might have been because of that ritual, but I'm really not sure. So we're going to go into that right now. Also, you want to think about the fact that the same thing with Dany and her blood magic when she used actually with the lady prior to, um, she burned the woman and everything like that. Also burned, her husband because, he had died. And then that was the birth of the dragon eggs that happened to be there that she was carrying. So it's really interesting how those eggs ended up being symbolic to her being reborn as well after her baby died. And then we actually need to take a little bit more look at into the Red Priestess. So I'm going to go into some information about the Red Priests on the Game of Thrones and why maybe a little bit of information of why she did what she did and also who she is a little bit. So and we'll talk a little bit later about the connection to Jon before she brought him back, Davos, and much, much more. So thank you for tuning in to the Throne Room. And don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like and share. I'm just, giving my opinion about what I think about the Red Priest and also my research about her through actually reading information about the Red Priest and the Game of Thrones books. So the Red Priests are actually a clergy. They have a faith which is the Lord of Light, and they receive their name for the red clothing that they actually do wear. Now, if you notice, she wears several different dresses that are red. Also, the Red Priests and Red Priestesses do not take vows of celibacy. Obviously, we know that because when she killed the other Baratheon, that made it to where she actually had birthed some type of shadow baby or some sort. It's really strange. So the Red Priestess and possibly priests as well seemingly also engage in a form of sacred um, adult things. So that's just something that they do, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But if you're not 21 or older, I have actually made this video that does show adult content. We're kind of talking about adult things. So as we know, Game of Thrones is definitely a 21 and over show. It's not for kids under the age of 21. I'm just joking. It's not for kids. It's not for people under the age of 18. But just to get on to what I came here to do, Melisandre is actually someone that does have prophetic visions, and she repeatedly has visions of the future by staring into the fire and praying, and those visions may take time to come true. Now, as Melisandre claims, she's able to show others these visions, as she did for Stannis after the defeat of the Battle of Blackwater. Now, completing her faith in her, she also seemed to know that Mathos Seaworth would die by wildfire, as the foreshadowed his fate to him before the battle. Now, Melisandre also claims to read Arya Stark a future simply by staring into her eyes. Now, knowledge. Kinvara is actually the woman that appeared with Varys, knew secrets about Varys that should have been impossible for her to know, as there were no witness and those involved were unlikely to have told anyone. Yet she was able to describe the events in astonishing detail. Fire magic. Beric Dondarrion called upon the Lord of Light during the fight with Sandor Clegane, igniting his sword with the flame using only his blood. Cold resistance. Melisandre shows Jon Snow how she is never cold by allowing him to touch her cheek while they are walking in freezing temperatures from Castle Black to the Wall. Poison protection is also one as well. Master Crescent attempted to poison Melisandre by slipping poison into a cup of wine. After realizing that the cup is poison, Melisandre drank the entire cup without fear, completely unaffected by the poison, while Crescent died moments later from a simple sip. The red amulet around her neck lit up and glowed as that happened. So we also know that the amulet means more because she's actually use it as a shape shifter. She's like kind of like the faceless men in some sorts. But then people actually kind of just say, oh, downplay what she does because she brought Jon Snow back. I don't know too many people that are going to resurrect people. Also, resurrection. The Red Priest Thoros showed this ability as Beric fell in combat against Sandor Clegane by repeatedly chanting, "Lord, cast your light upon this man, your servant, bring him back from death." And he went ahead and said the little spell, and he was brought back from being dead. So that's just another thing that the people that are red priestesses abilities are. And so in this case, Beric was revived and also alive and well, and his wounds were healed, and everybody pretty much knows that he left from that point in time. And there's also another thing that they say: we ask the Lord to shine the light and take a soul from darkness. We implore the Lord of share to share their fire, and light of candle went out from darkness, light from the ashes, fire from death to light. And they say that in their High Valyrian language that they usually speak. In spite of the differences in ritual, Melisandre's efforts were a success. So she did do it, but it didn't happen right away. It was something that happened later, and it was really interesting. Like, he just woke up, and that was the end of that season, and then we came into the season that we're in now. So it was really interesting. So also glamours. Some red priests can cast magical glamours illusions which alter a person's appearance in the minds of others. I'm not sure about that, because the problem with it all is that with everything that they're saying, it's just strange that I mean, it's not the minds of others. She really looks like an old lady, and so I'm not sure like what would happen if they pulled them and pulled it off next season. It might be kind of funny, like just to see it get pulled off and see how old she is. My theory on the red woman, red priest, Melisandre, priestess, sorry, is that I think that she has a bigger role to play as we have went over the information that I have researched. It's more than we think. Um, there's actually the Lord of Light, and then they actually have two different names, which is Rylar. And I'm not sure why it's separated in that sense, but the Lord of Light, actually alternatively known as the Lord of Light, is a deity widely worshipped in the continent of Essos. So the Lord of Light has been described as the fire god, and its clergy fire priests, as worship of the Lord of Light centers around fire and light. So he is also known as the Red God, the Heart of Fire, and the God of Flame and Shadow. So there's different names that are named for the Lord of Light, which is Rylar or Arlar, or not sure if I'm saying it right. It's too hard. But the point is the faith of the Lord of Light is a majority religion in several of the free cities. So it extends to Asahai, Ashahai. If I said that wrong, I'm sorry again. In the distant east. Now, worship of the Lord of Light is almost unheard of in Westeros. This never heard of. And I think it's scary to them. It's almost like if someone just appeared and just started screaming at the rooftops all this, stuff they've never heard about. I think that a lot of people tend to get afraid about stuff like that. So I think that's just the way that a lot of people would react to someone new coming into their fold, just coming into their new area. So my predictions are that Arya does, have a kill list. She is going to go ahead and likely meet or see Melisandre, or she may not. The Brotherhood of Banners do protect her. She could pretend to be someone else if she sees her. As we could see on the last episode of 6, they didn't show you the events of what she did before that. So she was able to sneak into the phrase just like she snuck before with Sandor Clegane, which is the Hound. And in this case, with the Jon Snow resurrection, she was kicked out of Winterfell because of the fact that she, did use blood magic to kill Princess Shireen, and Davos didn't want her there, and he kind of had to get her out of there as well. So.